Thank you, John. So it's nice to see you. You look in
Hi.
great shape. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this session on the Passion Project. So I'm very happy to be able to introduce our three speakers. So the first one is Professor Somesh Gupta, who is a professor at the prestigious All India Institute of Medical Science in Delhi, who is well published, honestly, of 250 publications and Nature Index of 31. And recently, I'd like to congratulate Somesh for his appointment as an advisor for sexually transmitted disease at the World Health Organization. Our second panel join is Sharad Kumar. Sharad Kumar is a computer science engineer who is a graduate from University of Michigan, the US, and he has a degree prestigious from the MIT Sloan School in Boston. And otherwise, as a recent feat, he's actually joined the World Health Organization, ITU, standardization focus group on AI for health. So maybe I can just introduce what is ITU. So ITU does for WHO in health, it does what it does for information communication technology. So it's focused on standardizing and finding solutions to pull data and to put algorithms together in a respectful way for everyone. And it's a joint effort which aims to be open. So if you're interested, Sharad is very happy to discuss with you. And otherwise, our last speaker, it's really last but not least, he's got the biggest name. So is Professor Fahafansua Rapiranoro Labenja, who is a professor in Madagascar, who trained in France, who was the dean of Antananarivo University. So Antananarivo is the capital of Madagascar with 2.5 million people. And he is also, he's got also a long 2-decade long experience in ICT, in teledermatology. So he's got informatics degree, health informatics degree from Tufts University in Boston, as well as a degree from Natal University in Durban, South Africa. More recently, he has joined the Journal of Medical Internet Research Dermatology editorial board. This journal, I would like to remind you, is the official journal of the International Society of Teledermatology. So we have a great bunch of speakers here, and I would like to give the floor to them. So do you have any questions? And if you, I don't see any questions, but I can start. My first question will be for Professor Somesh. So what I was wondering is about, is AI going to take our jobs away?
Say it again, Christophe. What's the question? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Somesh. Is AI going to take the job away from us dermatologists?
Oh, yes, yes. So it's a very, very important question to begin with. We started working together, Sharad and I, around 2.5, 3 years now, almost 3 years ago, and we came with a mobile phone application which is linked to the master computer through the clouds, working on helping with the diagnosis of around 50 skin diseases. So when I shared this on official social media group of our Indian association, there was a very strong sentiment against it, a very strong reaction against AI. So then I realized that what kind of apprehension among dermatologists. So the biggest is that AI is going to take their job, which is not at all. It has no basis in it. It is not at all going to happen in any time near future. See, dermatology is not all about making a diagnosis. It is about talking to the patient in a compassionate manner, and it is, the AI can work in specific algorithms, but there are thousands of algorithms our mind work on. So AI can never reach in near future the human level competency as far as treatment of skin diseases is concerned. AI, what we can do, we can transfer all routine jobs to AI. We can strengthen the primary care physicians to make them capable of diagnosing common skin diseases, and dermatologists can devote more time in more complex problems needing more cognitive abilities. So it is going to improve our time, it is going to improve our life, it is going to improve the quality of care which we can provide to the patients, but it is not going to take our jobs away.
So I would actually add a question to that. So, according to your thoughts, on maybe in India or maybe elsewhere, who is going to be afraid of the AI among physicians? Do you think there's a particular age group, or do you think it could be? What are your thoughts on that?
So we conducted a survey among dermatologists in India, and around 150 participants were there. And generally, we expect that the newer bunch of dermatologists, the younger ones, they have greater acceptability to any newer technology. This was just counterintuitive. What we found, the older and established dermatologists, they had least apprehension. They were more welcoming to AI in dermatology. And those who were younger than 35 years of age, they were very apprehensive, and they were against any kind of AI assistance in their practice or anywhere in the specialty. So I think it is because they are early in their career, and they feel that because AI will enable general physicians to make diagnosis and treat skin diseases. Because dermatology, everything being on the surface is amenable to image-based machine learning assistance in the diagnosis. So they feel that majority of the patients which they can see will be seen by primary care physicians, and therefore the less number of patients will come to them, and that will affect their career, that will affect the income they generate. So it is just opposite. They are not welcoming to the AI in the field of dermatology. On the other hand, the older and already established dermatologists, they are very happy with to adopt it, very happy to try it in their practice.
Thank you so much. So maybe I can pass on to Sharad. So I just had a general comment. So I really think data in general, there are fewer and fewer sources who aggregated the data, but still, if you go to countries like the US, it's very siloed. So I think there's different ways people collect data, different things, different formats they want to adopt. So I was wondering, what do you think, Sharad, about the interoperability, how we can make a pooling of that data so that more people can work on it? You're on mute.
My apologies. So yes, so as we were even hearing the last part of the previous talk, it concluded with this note about data being very important. So yes, so certainly large volumes of good annotated data is important, and it is a difficult problem to say that how do we get it, how do we make it available so that it is for the welfare and more of several groups and more broadly used. And another aspect to that is that when we do have access to data, that it is interoperable in the sense that we are able to use it in the right way, because we find that when you take, especially in the case of phone-based images, that there is a lot of difference in how the image is captured based on usage. So some people will take a picture, say a trained dermatologist will take the image from close up, focusing on the lesion. They know what to look for and therefore be able to capture the image correctly. And usually that forms the basis of the training that the AI has received. So therefore, the assessment that comes out of AI for those images reaches a certain quality. But now, and as Dr. Somesh was earlier referring to, that the primary usage may be with GPs or healthcare workers, or in areas where there is not that much or easy access to trained dermatologists. That is where AI may make first inroads. There, people may not necessarily be trained to take the images in the same consistent way. So we need to, using the mobile phone, they may capture, for example, portions of clothing. It may not be at the right zoom level. And many other things. So we have to, and therefore the AI may not provide the right diagnosis or right guidance to the physician, not because the technology is not working, but there is an aspect of usage that is not standardized. So even with this ITU group and some of our work, we are trying to address this in multiple ways. One is purely from a technical point of view, that when we standardize sort of images along with, because one of the other things that is important in diagnosis is sort of clinical data that goes along with images. So to say, how do we structure in a standard format both the image data as well as textual information that can represent clinical information. So that is one level of standardization. The other is that when you are capturing images from the mobile phone, can we use technology that is now available in some of our phones, where in terms of sort of zoom levels, contrast levels, color balancing, the distance from the lesion or the area of interest on the image, can we somehow standardize that both in terms of what it should look like and provide enabling technologies such that the physician is guided in terms of taking the right image. And once the image has been taken and the image provides an additional information is available, like the contrast, like color balancing, then can we, while training, while inference, use some of these image processing techniques as well as input from the camera to kind of standardize what is fed to the AI algorithm, so that the overall assessment is standard, and once that is standard, then the quality of the output of the algorithm will improve. So I think there's a lot of work that is happening, but also needs to be done, which is what I really call is sort of productizing AI, because we know that data is very big. and is very important. And algorithms are important, but so those are the usually the two things that people think about. But in a real product, one has to sort of guarantee consistent quality and consistent usage across various usage models, across various kinds of users. So those are all the things that are important to from an interoperability point of view, because unless we can achieve that, we will not get to the quality we are looking for beyond consistently over a large set of usage, which cannot be addressed just by data or algorithms.
Thank you, Shahad. So I would say that interoperability is a very important thing, especially when there's not enough regulation in algorithmic development, as well as data collection. So there are big biases. You know, I'm still a dermatologist, so I don't have that big of a knowledge, but it's true that when I see all the biases in terms of gender and color issues, so that in terms of the data, we can never really develop a good algorithm. And I think that we really, to be able to do that, we need interoperability and regulation, and we need people to sit together and devise solutions together, which can be on a healthcare development perspective when we think about the problem, but it can also be at the level of a group when we actually try to find technical solutions to actually safeguard the development.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question here from Alexander Bora from First Derm. So he's asking a question to everybody. So I'll just read out the question. So do you think developing countries like India and Africa, where there is a lack of physicians and lack of regulation, will lead the way to consumer-facing artificial intelligence? So do you think, yeah, okay, that's his question. So does anyone want to answer? Do you want me to repeat the question, maybe? I think you're all on mute.
No, I was waiting for one of the physicians to answer, but since they, yeah.
Yes,
but I can stab at it. Go ahead, Dr. Sumesh. Yes.
No, after you are saying something.
Yeah. So I was just saying that the need and opportunity is definitely there in countries where the access to physicians is less, and yes, in some cases I find that in the public health bodies, they are embracing some of these technologies and wanting to look at it because they realize that the public health benefit is significant. So I find that at least for in that space, there is good traction. In the more commercial space, I would sort of go back to what maybe Dr. Sumesh was saying earlier, that there has been some resistance, but I'll let him maybe elaborate on it further.
Yeah. So another thing which in this question, the issue which has been raised is of regulatory approval. So most of these countries don't have any regulatory, law implemented for AI, the use of AI in patient care. So that barrier is at least not there in most of the countries in Asia and Africa. Maybe in next few years, the certain laws will be implemented, and most of these AI-based apps and devices will become the medical devices then. But till then, we can expand the use of AI at the very, very grassroots level to the primary care physician. Now, India has a good number of dermatologists, but most of them are concentrated in urban areas. So there is a disparity, there is a gap, dermatological healthcare gap between the semi-urban or rural and urban areas. And another thing is that most of the new generation dermatologists, they would like to go into aesthetics and cosmetic dermatology for obvious reasons. So a large part of general dermatology care is, I would not say neglected, but becoming less popular among dermatologists. So here the AI can fill this gap, and certainly the demand, once the current AI devices or the AI assisted diagnostic devices are, there is not, the trust deficit level is there. So as the technology improves and the performance of these AI apps improves, I think most of the physicians will adopt it. And I myself used these some of the devices in my practice, and I found that there is I would say there is that it needs some time before you actually learn how to use it to actually contribute in the diagnosis of skin diseases. So I definitely see a big, uh, from commercial angle, a big market of AI in Asia and Africa. Although the financial returns, I'm not sure, as Sharad mentioned, because that aspect has always been very, very different in Asian and African countries, and doctors don't want to pay for any such devices. So this is all about.
So I think I can follow through with the question to Professor Ravenja. So, Professor, who do you think is going to? How do you think AI and teledermatology is going to finance itself afterwards?
This is a good question, and I think this is a big problem. We need to have regulation, as the former speaker talked. Government regulation is needed, because if AI in Africa were used by non-dermatology, in this case, it's very difficult. This is one of the problem to have the dermatologist implementation of the AI in dermatology, because they need to know that they don't lost one part of their practice. And if you think in Africa, you are a few dermatologists, and if you work in the field, you need to use AI. You need it in primary care, in dermatology primary care, because in Africa, I know many French-speaking Africa, dermatology is a part of the 5 diseases in Africa. And most of dermatology disease is included in the healthcare in field. And you need help in this, because you are few to practice dermatology in Africa. And I think I have the opportunity to work in 2 different countries, in French and in Madagascar. And I know the big difference. In French, many dermatologists don't like AI, because they think that it's enough for us. There are one dermatologist for 2,500 populations, but 80% of them have more than 50 years. And next time, it's not a problem only for Africa, but for all of the country, because the problem of dermatology doctor working in dermatology is the same in Africa and in developed country. And I think you need to have a regulation in the state and international society, and helping the center in Africa or in India, in Asia, who need to implement this practice, because if you are more than, you have many population who are agreement this application, then the resistance in this using this AE in dermatology. And Christophe know that we implement in our university a study specifically with IT specialists and dermatology to have our own application of AE in our specific image, because even taking the image is very difficult if you have not standard, you don't have a standard method. And I think AT specialists can have an explication there. And we use in this presentation, green color is better in our phototypes to have more resolution for AT application in dermatology.
Yes, thank you, Professor. So I was actually picking up on your comment about how to take good pictures. So I was asking a question to Sharad. We take one picture or we take many pictures?
Yes, that's a good question. So certainly we have found that while checking that if you can have more than one image, then the diagnostic accuracy of the solution improves, because you can add additional algorithms in the background or to sort of say that based on multiple images, that what is the diagnosis, because the way the AI works, it works on probability. So if you are providing it more data or more, then it can average out probability or come up with more sophisticated algorithms which make use of multiple images. So yes, so if we can provide more images, then that always helps in overall accuracy.
And clinical information.
Oh yes. So
clinical information from, sorry.
Yeah. So Sharad and I, we have also submitted a patent for use of a collage instead of a single image for analysis for this AI diagnosis of the images. And what we found that it is easy for a dermatologist to pick up the right sample image for AI analysis. But it is not easy for a non-dermatologist, general physician, or the general practitioner to pick up a right kind of sample image for AI algorithm, for AI diagnosis, machine learning diagnosis. So if we have a system in which we can just feed 2 or 3 or 4 frames in a single image, so that it is more likely that the representative image or representative area of the disease is included in the picture. So we have it in this mechanism in Sharad's app, and a collage we repeatedly found that improves the probability of a correct diagnosis in AI.
Thank you so much. So I was still wondering if anyone else had a comment, but really time is flying. So we already reached we're already reached time's up, so it's the end. So if there's nothing else that anyone of the panel wanted to add, so I just wanted to close today's first day of the conference. Of course, thanking the participants who joined our session, but also to invite you tomorrow at 6 Central European Time, 8 Madagascar time, and 10:30 Indian time to join Amanda Oakley's session tomorrow. Okay, so I have a comment from Amanda. Yes, so Amanda, we'll see you tomorrow, and everyone, thank you again for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Christoph.
Christoph. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.